We'll show you how to use the Informant Questionnaire editing form for the Speechislands website. This form is for use for capturing the biographical data of the language informants. To start out with, it's possible to begin a form from this URL. Your base URL might be different. It's probably going to be speechislands.org instead of this local stuff. But the end of it will always be the same, informant/edit.php. Once you hit that URL, you will see this form that you see before you right now. If you're starting from scratch and you don't have an informant ID, you can just leave this field blank. If you all know that there already exists an informant form for a particular informant and it's online, and you know the informant ID for it, you can type it in this blank and it will automatically be downloaded for you. For this case, I don't have an already existing questionnaire online, so I'm just going to put the number 482 in here. Actually, I'm going to leave it blank so one can be assigned to me. So then we put a person's name in here, Fred Blinkenstaff, and then we can open up each of the 7 sections of information about that person that should correspond with the forms that the paper forms that you may have already. These forms are pretty standard forms. There's a few things to note. The city of birth will automatically populate with cities in the state of Texas, but you can add your own that are not on the list, and it'll work just fine if they're in a state outside of Texas. The same is true here, I believe. You can use the drop down, or you can type in your own, although you shouldn't need to in this case. Country of birth, I think, works the same way, United States. And then that's it for those. Many fields have other boxes which you can tick, and then they allow you to apply other fields, type in other fields. So if you've got a Baha'i person, you can hit the other box here and type in Baha'i down here. There's also comment fields that you can use to add additional information. Oops. So, for example, aside from that, your form will be saved. So if you start a new one, the old one will still exist right now. Since there's only one, it doesn't show any navigation, but as soon as I hit new and start a new one, Susan Blinkenstaff, now you note that it shows that this is interview 1 of 2, and you can navigate to the other one by using the next and previous keys. So once you've finished filling out the forms and you want to upload them, you'll notice right now that the upload button says upload 0. In order to queue an interview up for uploading, you have to change its upload status from the default of draft to either create or overwrite. So create means that you're making a new one. Overwrite means that there's already one uploaded, and you want to substitute whatever information is online with the information in your form here, which will be the case if, in the case of most older interviews, ones done before this year, if you're uploading them for the first time, you will end up overwriting some content that had been stored before, but typically it's very little. And if you're worried about that, you can get the informant ID for that person and then download it first. So for example, if you knew that your informant ID was 400 and you wanted to be sure that you didn't, that you made sure that the information was consistent between the two of them, you could type 400 in here, hit the download button, and it will download informant number 400's questionnaire. This one happens to be empty, so you don't have anything to worry about. And then you can just put whatever, the information in here. So if you want to delete them, there's obviously a delete button for these. So let's just create a couple, and then we've got Fred and Susan, and now we'll hit upload and see the upload form. The upload form wants to check and make sure, once again, that you're not going to overwrite information that already exists. So on the left-hand side here, it will show you the information that you are about to upload, just a little bit from the form. So it'll show the full name that you applied. If you put an ID in, it'll show it here, the date of birth of the person, which I didn't add in, and their residence. And then on the right, it will check for any people who might be possibly already existing users that you don't want to overwrite, or you might want to make sure that you check them out to make sure that they don't already have a bunch of information. So what happens here is, if you supply an ID, it will look for one here that matches that ID. Just for a second, I'm going to go back and put an ID in here so I can show that feature. Now when I upload it, Fred Blinkenstaff, it shows that there is already a person with that ID in the system, and their residence is in Cherry Springs, their birth date is undetermined, but the questionnaire, which is what the contents of this form, don't exist yet. So uploading this information about Fred to this would be just fine, because the questionnaire will not be overwritten. Down here, it just checks the database for informants who have the same first or last name as your person. So it shows Fred Vogus here because there's already a user called Fred, but obviously Fred Blinkenstaff and Fred Vogus are probably different people, so there's no problem. And then once you're finished, once you've decided, yes, I do want to actually upload these two forms, then you check Create New or Overwrite, and then hit Upload Marked Questionnaires. Any questionnaire on the left that is marked as draft will not actually be uploaded. So let's just do one of those too. So now you get the information that one of those records was actually updated. And if you want to go and see it, you can click here. And this shows you the information about Susan. That's the basics for how to use the questionnaire form.